came to see Mary. She was doing laundry, and then the angel just appeared and she was really scared. So Gabriel was like, Mary, you're gonna have, what? I can't say it good. Mary, you're gonna have a baby. You're gonna have a baby and you will call him Jesus. And then Mary was like, I'm not gonna have a baby yet. I'm only a teenager, I'm not married. Then the angel Gabriel told Joseph that Mary is not lying. You are having a new baby. And so they met up. They went to Bethlehem, which was Joseph's old town. They ride a donkey. I don't know.
A camel.
Oh yeah, a camel. She said, this donkey's fast. They tried to go to a hotel and they asked the keeper for a place to stay. The keeper said,
we have no rooms. Literally, no rooms.
So Mary and Joseph walked away sadly, but then he said,
the only place here in Bethlehem that you can stay is a stable. And then he just pointed the way and they followed. When the shepherds were taking care of the sheep,
then they saw angels.
The angel said, a new baby is getting born, who is King of the Jews.
The angel was singing, glorious.
And then the shepherds said, I think we should go there and meet him. The second, I think, said, yeah, I agree with you. And the other said, yeah, me too. They had to walk through a bunch of grass and bushes, maybe have to camp out a night. And then the wise men heard about it.
And then a star appeared.
We should probably follow that star. It's pointing down to the barn.
So maybe we should follow it. Maybe. So the wise men went to Jesus.
They gave them gifts.
A stuffed animal, like a hippo one, that I have at home.
Some diapers, and some wipes, and some milk, some shoes, some Jordans.
Gold ring and Latimer.
And I don't know how it would survive in that barn. Too stinky, too crowded, and ugh.
I think he probably pooped because the room was very smelly. Thank you for coming.
He's adorable.
He's gonna be our best friend.
I love you, and you the best baby I ever seen. There, I said it.
The new baby is gonna change the world.
Starlight shines, the night is still. Shepherds watching from a hill. I close my eyes and see the night when love was born. A perfect child gently waves, a mother bends to kiss God's face. I close my eyes and see the night when love was born. Angels fill the midnight sky. They sing, hallelujah, he is Christ. door came the hope we've waited for. The world was changed forevermore when love was born. I close my eyes and see the night when love was born.
Welcome to Lifewalk Sunday Assembly for December 20th. Last week, we looked at two of the most famous stories of all time, the stories that have been told over and over and over again. This week, we're going to look at a couple of stories that are not nearly as famous and might be the most mistold stories of all time. Why? And what's mistold about them? Well, I'll let you think about that as we go through the assembly. But we're certainly glad to have you here as you participate with us as we worship God and praise our Creator.
hijacked into foil-gilded greeting cards, sung into libretti over organ chords. Sultans or astrologers? They trekked into the unknown on a hunch, launched out from some far land of distress or empty comforts, looking for a shred of truth or inspiration through an aperture of prophecy. Did they seek liberation or simply a moment to see into the ultimate? No matter, they stumbled into a tyrant's path, beneath a comet's tail, stumbled into more misery. An outcast couple and infant, sheltered in a cattle-scented shed. Yet these magi still showed up at the center of the story, coax us out of the mire of our own luxury. They bucked the pressure to simply save their skins, discovered a light, not just a star streaking through ancient skies. Whatever stirred in the slim incense of cow breath, a revelation in sheep-swaddled straw, bid them leave their treasure behind. Might have been his mother's eyes, or the silence of her still mystified spouse, that bid them leave by another route. Hearts changed.
Okay, let's see if I can guess what you guys picked out. What is it that's mistold about the stories in chapter 2? Well, probably one of the things that you listed is that there's always 3 wise men in the stories. There's 3 gifts, but whether there's 3 wise men, well, Matthew didn't think it was important for us to know. The other thing that's you probably caught was, when did it happen? One of the most interesting things about this story is that Matthew tells us that this happened after Mary and Joseph were living in a house. Apparently, if we follow Luke's story, they spent some time in Bethlehem after they went to Jerusalem and did all the sacrifices and everything, and that wise men came only then. Excuse me. The one that I noticed that may or may not be true is, I wonder about that star. In all those pictures we've seen, there's this big, huge star that's over the top of it. And many of you are excited about seeing the Christmas star that's supposed to rise tomorrow night as a couple of the planets line up, and there's supposed to be an extra bright star in the sky. But here's what I wonder about. If there was this brilliant star that everybody could see that was so massive that it made this big, beautiful light over the top of course, in the stories, it's a manger, how come nobody else followed it? One of the fascinating things in this story for me is these magi, they were looking for God to do something. And they saw God doing something that apparently no one else saw, or no one else saw and was interested enough to follow in. I think one of the great lessons that Matthew has for us in this chapter is God calls us, but God calls in all kinds of different ways. God has plans for us, things that he intends for us, futures that are beyond what anything that we could imagine. Sometimes he has futures that are worse than anything we ever imagined. But God calls. He calls us to participate in his plan, his mission, his way. The question becomes, are we looking for God's call? Both the stories that are in Matthew chapter 2 are about God's call. God called these magi from far away into the east to travel what apparently was months to come all the way to Jerusalem to find out they weren't in the right spot, and then to end up going to Bethlehem to find out that they were in the right spot, and only then for God to call them to say, and now it's time to get out of here and get out of here fast. God's call. They were looking for it. God had a twist because he's in the know. And he takes us in places even when we're trying to follow him and do things that would not be the way we would do it. Sometimes God's call comes in the midst of things where we are finally settling down and we think maybe God is going to leave us alone. At least that's the way I perceive Mary and Joseph being. Nazareth had been their home, but Nazareth is a tough place to go back to, right? Because Mary was pregnant before they got married, and Joseph married her anyway, and now they're in Bethlehem, where Joseph has relatives, where they found a house, he apparently has work, they've settled down, they've got a child. It seems like God is given them this beautiful, blessed gift of a new son, and maybe they can just live their life and be close to Jerusalem like every Jew wanted to be and just go on. And then God calls. Thrust upon them, not out of their doing, but out of the evil and wickedness of other people. And all of a sudden, they're getting up in the middle of the night, packing their stuff and running out of town, and nobody knows what's going on. At least that's the way I read the story. They're getting away as fast as they can because very soon Herod's soldiers, it's got to be his cruelest soldiers, are headed into Bethlehem because they're headed in to kill babies. And Jesus and Mary and Joseph are out in the middle of the night, walking on the road, headed off to Egypt of all places. Not just down the road, not to a place where there's relatives, but to another country, far away, many days and weeks journey, difficult for someone with a young child. Thrust upon them, they give up everything they had in the new life in Bethlehem, off into the new world of Egypt, where they stay, but only for a little while, before God calls them back again, once again throwing them up into turmoil and difficulty and struggle. And now they go back, but not to the place of a new life, but back to the old life and the old way. And where have you been? And why did you stay away for so long? And who is this baby? And how old is he? And when did you get married? And all those stories that would have dogged them for the rest of their lives in Nazareth. God calls. Calls us in many ways. If we're listening, sometimes he has to beat us over the head with it to call us. I hope that this particular time of year, as we celebrate the birth of Jesus, as we think about the holidays, as we think about New Year's, as we think about things that are ahead of us, as we're spending time in prayer, considering Lifewalk and our place in Lifewalk, I hope we'll be listening carefully for God's call.